Hi guys, so today we're going to do the cubital fossa and elbow anastomosis. When we talk about the cubital fossa, this is basically the area in front of the elbow joint on the anterior side between the junction of the arm and forearm. When we talk about the elbow joint, it's basically comprised of three bones articulating together: the end of the humerus, the head of the radius, and the ulna. Can you see that the olecranon process of the ulna basically articulates with the in the olecranon fossa of the humerus? If you remember that there was a trochlea and a trochlear notch made by the ulna that was articulating in the basically the trochlear notch was articulating in the trochlea of the humerus to form part of the elbow joint. We know that the head of the ulna was distally present in the wrist, right? So the only the head of the ulna is present on the opposite side, basically. All the heads are present proximally except the head of the ulna. Now, this is the anterior view, this is the posterior view. When we talk about the cubital fossa, it's present on the anterior side of the elbow joint. Now, the cubital fossa is, cubital basically means elbow. Now, it is in the junction of the anterior compartments of arm and forearm. It's a triangular depression in front of the elbow joint. You can mirror this idea of the cubital fossa in the popliteal fossa. So you have a popliteal fossa behind the knee joint, and that sort of forms exactly the similar kind of depression that the cubital fossa forms in front of the elbow joint. These both depressions sort of mimic each other, so to say. And intermuscular space is present in front of the elbow. Now, you should know that the triangle of the cubital fossa directs downwards, right? Now, it's we need to know the boundaries of the cubital fossa. The base is an imaginary line present between the two condyles, basically the epicondyles of the humerus. So if I take the two epicondyles of the humerus and I join an imaginary line along with those two epicondyles, I will be forming the base of a triangle, right? Now, the apex, I said, directs downwards. The apex has two sides of it, right? So laterally, I can see there's the medial border of the brachioradialis. Can you see the brachioradialis here? This is the medial border of the brachioradialis. And medially, I get the lateral border of the pronator teres, right? So these boundaries, guys, are very important. They come up in questions a lot of times. In the cubital fossa roof, I have the skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia, and then the bicipital aponeurosis. The bicipital aponeurosis is very important because it separates the overlying venous system from the underlying arterial system, right? This is the bicipital aponeurosis basically helps to fix the veins on top of the bicipital aponeurosis in one position, and that's why it's very easy to take an IV sample from this area. IV means intravenous, right? Or to give an IV injection in this area. Structures present in the roof. Now, structures present in the roof include the median cubital vein. You can see the median cubital vein here, this one. Now, I told you that this sort of looks like an H, right? So there are different forms and different variations of how these veins are connected to each other. Sometimes you will see an M, sometimes you will see an N, and sometimes you will see an H. Here we are seeing an H formation. So structures present in the roof of the cubital fossa include the median cubital vein, which is connecting the basilic vein from the cephalic vein. Always remember that the cephalic vein is present laterally, and that's why the cephalic vein also becomes one of the contents of the anatomical snuff box, because we know that it is present laterally. Then the lateral cutaneous nerve of forearm is also present on the roof. The basilic vein is present medially, and then the medial cutaneous nerve of the arm. So the superficial area, you will find cutaneous nerves because they have to supply the skin. That's why they're lying superficially. And you will find the veins because I told you that the veins lie superior in the most superior region, right? Which is why it's so easy for us to take IV access here. The median cubital vein, what's the point of a median cubital vein being in the middle of the cephalic vein and the basilic vein? Basically, it's a connection. It runs superior medially across the roof of the cubital fossa, forms a connection between the cephalic vein and the basilic vein. It passes anterior to the bicipital aponeurosis, separates it from the brachial artery. That's why you never have to be scared if you'll go in the artery, because the artery lies below the bicipital aponeurosis. It commonly gives off a perforating branch which connects with the brachial veins. Now, this is something that you should know about the perforating branches. Perforating always means something that is helping. So when you have perforating veins, they connect some veins to certain veins. When you have perforating arteries, they connect two main arteries with each other. So you always have perforators when you're helping or reinforcing drainage or supply somewhere. Okay. When we come to the median cubital vein, it's a tributary of the median vein of the forearm, and the communication that happens with it is with the deep veins through a perforating vein. Okay. Median vein of forearm is also called the median antebrachial vein. It begins from the palmar venous plexus. Here you can see this is the palmar venous plexus. This is where it's beginning from. It terminates here in the cubital fossa, and by any of the following way. It will either go into the median cubital vein, or it will go into the basically cephalic vein, or it will divide into cephalic and median basilic veins. Okay. Now, the floor. The floor is formed by the brachialis and the supinator. Okay. These two muscles form the floor of the cubital fossa. Here you can see the brachialis muscle. This is your brachialis muscle. And here you can see the supinator, which is helping supination here. Okay. Now, this is the floor of the cubital fossa, and the brachialis, as you can see, it's a flexor of the elbow, and it originates from the distal half of the humerus and inserts all the way onto the tuberosity of the ulna, the coronoid process of the ulna also. The supinator, as you can see, it wraps around the radius and inserts, most of it is inserting on the radius and connecting onto the ulna. And this lies deep to the other extensors of the elbow. Okay. Now, such as like brachioradialis. Now, supinator, as we can see, it's basically wrapping around, right? So the floor is formed by these deep muscles. You know that the brachialis is also lying deeper to the other muscles, and you know the supinator also lying deeper to the rest of the muscles. So since they lie very deep, they form the floor of the cubital fossa. Now, what are the contents of the cubital fossa? We have the, you can remember it with MBBS, right? So first we have the median nerve, then we have the brachial artery, which by the way bifurcates into the radial and ulnar artery at the neck of the radius. And then we have the MBB. Now another B. Now we have the biceps brachii tendon. If you sort of flex your elbow, you will find a tendon in the middle part of your elbow on the anterior side, and this is basically your biceps brachii tendon. And then the S stands for the superficial branch of the radial nerve. The radial nerve will divide into a superficial branch and the deep branch. The deep branch is also called as the posterior interosseous nerve, right? Posterior interosseous nerve, yes. Now, the supinator muscle it originates from the superficial part from lateral epicondyle of humerus, radial collateral and annular ligament, and the deep part originates from the supinator crest of ulna and area in front of it. Okay. So basically, you find the humerus. You know that the supinator has two origins. It has two heads, right? First head is coming off from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus here, the radial collateral and annular ligament, and the deep part is coming off from the supinated crest of the ulna area in front of it. It inserts all the way into the upper one-third of anterior part of the lateral surface of radius between the anterior and posterior oblique lines. Other features, the posterior interosseous nerve passes through the part of this muscle. Okay, that's your supinator. Moving on, we have the contents of the cubital fossa, as I told you. First, you have a median nerve on the most medial side here. And then for B, you have the brachial artery, which divides into radial and ulnar artery at the head of the radius. And then you have the biceps brachii tendon. And then you have this superficial branch of radial nerve, and this is the deep branch of the radial nerve. Okay, sometimes the deep branch of the radial nerve will be part of the content, sometimes it will not. You should always write both of them, the superficial and deep branch of the radial nerve. Now we come on to the anastomosis around the elbow joint. Now to supply the elbow joint, articular arteries of the elbow form a kind of big anastomosis around the elbow joint. To understand the elbow joint, you must remember that at the elbow joint, you have the humerus coming and giving off a lateral epicondyle and a medial epicondyle. The medial epicondyle is more prominent than the lateral epicondyle. Remember that. Now, anastomosis occurs between which arteries? The brachial artery, which is basically the continuation of the axillary artery after the border of the teres major muscle, and the axillary artery itself is the continuation of the subclavian artery after the first strip. So the subclavian artery after the first strip becomes the axillary artery, which after the border of the teres major becomes the brachial artery. Now, this is the brachial artery. Now, the brachial artery gives the profunda brachial artery at the upper 1/3 of the arm, and that spirals around from the posterior side of the humerus. It spirals in the spiral groove of the humerus with the radial nerve, and then comes and lies anterior to the humerus again, right? So this profunda brachial artery will give us two special branches that will participate in the anastomosis around the elbow joint. And then we know that the brachial artery itself is dividing into the radial and ulnar artery at the head of the radius. Now, anastomosis in the elbow is basically we have some branches involved that we should do one by one. Now, first of all, you know that there was a profunda brachial artery which was running around from the behind of the humerus in the spiral groove with the radial nerve. Now, that profunda brachial artery gives us two branches. It gives us a radial collateral artery, and then it gives us a middle collateral artery, right? So it gives us two collateral arteries. It gives us a radial collateral artery and gives us a middle collateral artery. Now, the radial artery itself, which was formed after the brachial artery bifurcated at the head of the radius, the radial artery itself will give you a radial recurrent artery. This radial recurrent artery goes and anastomoses with the radial collateral artery. ठीक हो गया? Basically, the profunda brachial artery is coming from above, right? And it's giving us two divisions, the radial collateral artery and the middle collateral branch. Okay. Now, they go down, and now we're talking about the radial collateral artery, which is connecting to the recurrent radial artery. The recurrent radial artery is coming off of the radial artery, as you can see here. Now, we have other arteries also. Now, let's look at this. Now, this is our main brachial artery. The main brachial artery will give us two branches, okay? Look at this superior ulnar collateral artery, okay? And then look at this inferior ulnar collateral artery. They're named superior inferior because the superior ulnar collateral artery comes off from a superior region, and the inferior one comes off from an inferior region. Now, the superior ulnar collateral artery goes behind the medial epicondyle and anastomoses with an artery that comes off from the ulnar artery, which is called posterior ulnar recurrent artery. Now, why is it called posterior? Because going posterior to the epicondyle, right? So posterior to the medial epicondyle, the superior ulnar collateral artery and the posterior ulnar recurrent artery are joining together posterior to the medial epicondyle, right? And anterior to the medial epicondyle, you have the inferior ulnar collateral artery, and from here you have the anterior ulnar collateral artery. Anterior ulnar recurrent artery. It's called recurrent because it's going against the direction of the blood flow, right? So the inferior ulnar collateral artery and the anterior ulnar recurrent artery join together in front or anterior to the medial epicondyle to form an anastomosis also. Now remember, we have another artery which is called the common interosseous artery. The common interosseous artery is given off by the ulnar artery, right? This is your ulnar artery. Now the common interosseous artery further divides into two arteries, the posterior interosseous artery and the anterior interosseous artery, right? The posterior interosseous artery is so called because it goes behind the interosseous membrane into the posterior side of the forearm. And the anterior interosseous artery is so called because it goes and travels in front anterior to the interosseous membrane. The posterior interosseous artery further gives off a recurrent artery. This is called the interosseous recurrent artery. The interosseous recurrent artery, why is it called recurrent? Because it's going against the blood flow. Recurrent. The interosseous recurrent artery goes and joins with the middle collateral branch of the profunda brachial artery. Okay, so let's just complete this one last time. The profunda brachial artery gives us two branches. the radial collateral artery, the middle collateral artery. The radial collateral artery will come in front of the lateral epicondyle and join with the radial recurrent artery, which was given off by the radial artery. Now, behind the lateral epicondyle, remember, behind the lateral epicondyle, we had the ulnar artery, which was giving us a common interosseous artery. The common interosseous artery was further divided into a anterior interosseous artery and a posterior interosseous artery. The posterior interosseous artery was giving us this artery, which is called the interosseous recurrent artery. So this interosseous recurrent artery goes and anastomoses with the middle collateral branch of the profunda brachii artery behind the lateral epicondyle. Okay, I hope you're following with me. Now, this is the lateral epicondyle story. Let's go to the medial epicondyle. From the medial epicondyle, we see that the main brachial artery gives us a superior ulnar collateral artery and inferior ulnar collateral artery. From behind the medial epicondyle, the superior ulnar collateral artery anastomoses with the posterior ulnar recurrent artery, and the inferior ulnar collateral artery anastomoses with the anterior ulnar recurrent artery. Okay? I really hope that was clear. Moving on. So, from the brachial artery, we saw that two arteries are coming, the superior ulnar superior ulnar collateral artery and inferior ulnar collateral artery. From profunda brachial artery, we saw that a middle collateral branch was coming, and that is also called as posterior descending because it's a posterior descending artery, and a radial collateral branch was coming because it's an anterior descending. So, it's also called as anterior descending artery. आगे descend कर रही है ना. Now, moving on. Anastomosis around the elbow. Branches from the brachial artery. So, superior ulnar collateral artery arises near the middle of the arm. It accompanies the ulnar nerve here, pierces medial intramuscular septum, enters posterior compartment of arm, reaches back of the medial epicondyle here. Anastomosis with the posterior ulnar recurrent artery, or it's also called as the inferior ulnar collateral or supratrochlear. Just forget this. Remember the posterior ulnar recurrent artery. The inferior ulnar collateral artery will anastomose with the anterior ulnar collateral artery. Okay. Moving on. We have branches from the brachial artery. We've talked about the superior ulnar collateral and the inferior ulnar collateral. Now, the inferior ulnar collateral, otherwise called supratrochlear also sometimes, arises a little above the elbow here. Can you see that it arises just a little above the elbow? It gives an anterior descending branch. This inferior ulnar collateral artery also gives an anterior descending branch, right? Here, you can see the anterior descending branch here. This anastomoses with an anterior recurrent branch of the ulnar artery, right? You can also just say that the inferior ulnar collateral artery anastomoses with the anterior recurrent branch of the ulnar artery. After giving this branch, it pierces the medial intramuscular septum and anastomoses with posterior descending branch of profunda brachii, right? So this was your posterior descending branch of profunda brachii, which is dotted here. Okay, so when this inferior ulnar collateral artery goes behind the elbow, it anastomoses with the posterior descending branch of profunda brachii. Okay, so the inferior ulnar collateral artery gives an anterior collateral artery, which is the anterior descending branch basically, and that's anastomosing with the recurrent ulnar artery, right? And posterior to the elbow, the inferior ulnar collateral artery goes behind, the posterior descending branch of profunda brachii artery goes behind and anastomose with each other. Now, anastomosis around the elbow, where it is happening. Sides, medial epicondyle, we know what's happening in the front, at the back. Lateral epicondyle in the front, at the back. And above the olecranon fossa. How above the olecranon fossa? Because we had the ulnar collateral artery, inferior ulnar collateral artery, and we had the descending branch of the profunda brachii anastomosing above the olecranon fossa. Now, anastomosis around the medial epicondyle. We can see that around the medial epicondyle, anterior to the medial epicondyle, we have the inferior ulnar collateral artery, which was a branch of the brachial artery, and the anterior ulnar recurrent artery, right? They both anastomose in front of the medial condyle and anterior. And posterior to medial epicondyle, we had the superior ulnar collateral artery and the posterior ulnar recurrent artery, which was a branch of the ulnar artery, right? Moving on. Anastomosis around the lateral epicondyle. Now, anterior to lateral epicondyle, we have the radial collateral artery, which was a branch of the profunda brachii artery. We were also calling it the anterior descending branch of the profunda brachii artery. It was anastomosing with the radial recurrent artery. Why recurrent? Because it's going against the blood flow of the radial artery. They're both happening in front of the lateral epicondyle. Behind the lateral epicondyle, we have the middle collateral branch of the profunda brachii. This is the profunda brachii. This is the middle collateral branch. Okay. Middle collateral branch is also called as posterior descending artery. This is the same artery that was anastomosing with this inferior ulnar collateral artery, which was going behind and anastomosing with this middle collateral artery. And this also anastomoses with the interosseous recurrent artery. The interosseous recurrent artery was a branch of the posterior interosseous artery of the ulnar artery. Okay. So here you can see that there was a common interosseous artery, then there was an anterior and posterior interosseous artery. The posterior interosseous artery was giving us an other branch, the interosseous recurrent artery, which was anastomosing with the middle collateral artery of the profunda brachii artery. Okay. Now, the profunda brachii artery is the largest branch from the posterior medial aspect of the arm. Below the lower border of teres major, the axillary artery becomes the brachial artery, and the brachial artery gives a branch to the profunda brachii artery. It's the largest branch from the posterior medial aspect below the lower border of teres major. It accompanies the radial nerve in the spiral groove on posterior surface of humerus. Now, let's just devise the elbow anastomosis. It is constituted by the following branches: the superior ulnar collateral branch of brachial artery, the anterior branch of inferior ulnar collateral artery, and then an anterior posterior branches of the profunda brachii artery, which we were calling the, what were we calling them? We were calling them the radial collateral artery and middle collateral artery. Then we have an interosseous recurrent artery, which was a branch of the posterior interosseous artery, right? Of the common interosseous artery of the ulnar artery. Now, there was a radial recurrent branch of the radial artery. There was also superior inferior ulnar recurrent branches of the ulnar artery, and a communicating artery between posterior branch of inferior ulnar collateral and posterior radial collateral branch of brachial artery. So that's your anastomosis. I really hope that's clear. I tried to be as specific as possible. If you have any questions, just give them in the comments below. I will answer them. Okay. Have fun. Study hard.